Hey, welcome back to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby along with Jeff Gerard. Look, you're coming up next week is going to be our 13th anniversary. 2,100, maybe 2,200 shows, somewhere in the neighborhood of 300, 400 TV shows. You can also go online and pull up some of our articles. We've written, I don't know, I've probably written maybe 400 or 500 articles. We've got to count those over the last 21 years in business. So we have a history here of kind of what we think. And that's the good, bad, and the ugly, right? In today's world, thank goodness I'm not in high school during today's Facebook and Instagram world. Look, all of us, you're going to say and do things that are going to drive your financial business, right? You're going to have opportunities and chances, and you might miss some, you might take some, you might contemplate. If you're a praying person, you're going to sit and hopefully in prayer and try to figure out what's the right move for you financially speaking. Well, I'm going to give you some concepts here that I think are pretty important because they're going to guide you down a road from a philosophy that says, look, everybody's playing the game. So what do I mean by that? We left to the break in saying that. Everybody plays the financial game. From the 2-year-old to the 102-year-old, you're touching money every single day, whether it's the penny or the shiny quarter or your Social Security check. You are touching money every single day. But nobody's going to ever teach you how to handle it. You see, it used to be that you went to work, your job was to be a good shoemaker because your dad was a shoemaker, or to be a seamstress or a secretary because that's what your mom did. And goodness gracious, women, don't you ever go to college because you're just going to have babies at 18 years old anyway. And the men, oh gosh, we can afford to send one of you off to school, and they would have 6 or 10 children. They would usually take the oldest boy and they'd say, son, go find knowledge and bring it back. We'll see you in 3 or 4 or 5 years. And they would all sit there and they would continue to work the farm or in the factory or the shoemaking or and before you know it, they would come back and say, my goodness, Dad, let me tell you about the knowledge that's out there. And so they would be starting to share and things would change. And now today, though, let's fast forward only about 60 or 70 years, you guys. It's not that far. Now knowledge comes to you. Now anything you order can come to you. Now your financial literacy can be learned like that. And people are still convinced that they have to go into student loan debt in order to get education. The biggest scam going right now is this $50,000, $60,000, $250,000 in student loan debt. So you can come out to make a job of $60,000 or $80,000 that you have to pay back your student loans with after-tax money. Which means if your student loan payment is $500 a month, you have to make, $750? $750. And then you have to pay payroll tax, which means probably $800. So by the time you pay your Obamacare tax, your Social Security tax, but you're making $800 to pay $500 worth of education, which by the way has interest attached to it. So maybe it's $450 worth of stuff you got. Do you see how insane this is? You have massive structures called institutional universities. And they're telling you, hey buddy, we are the ones with the knowledge. Come here. And it used to be that way. And today, it is not anymore and hasn't been for a while. Today, the same kind of things, heck, let me hesitate to say better, right? In my freshman college history class, or one of my classes at UCLA, I remember there must have been, 300 people in the classroom. And it was a TA teaching it. And the first day was the professor, and that was it. Then somebody else. You go, whoa, wait. I'm paying this much money so I could just have those 4 letters on my diploma?
He was on a sabbatical.
Yeah, I guess so. So I share that with you because I want to catch you before you make an enormous financial mistake that follows you for 15, 20, 30 years or longer, especially if you're a parent taking out that loan for your child and it messes up your retirement so your kid gets a job for $12 or $15 an hour somewhere. And you're now have your personal life affected because they can't afford to pay it and you don't want to lose your credit. So you have to pay it. And who is the collection agency, Jeff?
Oh my goodness. Probably the best one out there.
The IRS, folks. You don't pay your student loans, the IRS takes everything from you, up to and including your professional license. Do you know that? They go after your beautician's license, your real estate license, your construction license, your nursing license, your license to be a physician. You get into trouble with the IRS, and then you don't pay? Surprise, they take everything. Now you might say, oh, Arif, that's dramatic. Really? It's possible it happens. Try not paying your health insurance premiums and see how quickly the IRS becomes your best friend. All right? So
Incredible.
What I'm saying is how to avoid that mess to begin with is I don't want you to go down a road where you end up upside down. So be very careful, because your retirement accounts are designed for you to live on when you retire in drips and drabs. They're not the larger the dollar figure. You don't live on lump sum. You live on a monthly income. That's why your rent or your mortgage is monthly. That's why your property taxes should be monthly. Some of you pay it annually. But that's why your electric bill, water bill, trash bill, monthly. That's why your grocery bill, you figure it out monthly or weekly. You're not saying, oh, I have $1 million in my retirement account. So, no, you say, listen, how much can I take out per month? Oh, that's great. I could live better. Can I take out $10,000 a month? I live wonderful. Can I take out less or more? So you see, life is about monthly income, not just big lump sums. You know, Jeff, one of the things I saw recently is how people have accumulated massive amounts of lump sums, and they've taken that money, and over all of these different jobs in their life, they want to and should be doing one thing with them. And what is that?
Well, and I'd say go out and collect them all. And what you can do how you can do that is to go and roll them over into your own individual retirement account. Remember that account we talked about earlier in the show? Individual retirement account is something that you set up. And it can be the receptacle for you to go out and take your old 401ks from your old jobs. Heck, we've even seen pensions from old jobs where you were able to take the lump sum, a 403b, any type of account that they'd allow you to roll it over into your name. You can, by and large, put it into this IRA. Now, what does that do? When you worked for those companies or those entities, you put money away on a pre-tax basis. Well, taking that money out, if you cash it out, you'd pay taxes on whatever money you took out of that account. So in order to preserve the tax favored part of it, the tax sheltered part, is you do a rollover. You roll the money over into that individual retirement account. You pay no tax. It's basically a sideways move. And then now it acts as your place where you've taken all these pre-tax accounts. You combine them and you can put them into one place, so now you manage that. And you tell when you worked for those companies, they told you what your choices were. XYZ companies you could invest in, yada, yada, and you had to check a few boxes and you go, okay, great. Well, what if I wanted a different type of vehicle to put my money into? You didn't have a choice. You were basically at the mercy of whatever company your company hired to offer retirement services. So now you can say, look, I want to take all that money and I want to put it in a CD at the bank or a savings account because I don't know what to do, or I want to buy stock, or I want to buy real estate, or I want to buy annuities. You can tell what that IRA to do because you control that, not your company. And by and large, what you can do now is say, look, I want to defer this off until a place and a time in my life in which I want to take the money out, up to and including your required minimum distributions, like we talked about earlier. So the only thing you have to consider in this is that it acts like all the other accounts, is that one day you will have to take some money out at age 70.
Yeah, and the part of this that makes sense is you're going to have many different jobs over your lifetime. You just are.
Yep.
You might work for a for-profit company, hence a 401k. You might work for a school district or as a hospital worker. Now that's a 403b. So you can, as you leave those jobs, start merging those accounts into your own control called an individual retirement account or an IRA. By merging those accounts together, as kind of Jeff was saying, and making that become one, now it's better and easier to manage. Now you are in control of the types of accounts and investment choices and savings choices and risk and rates of return and fees. You're in charge of that. And you get to decide how much or how little you want by working with your tax advisor, by working with your attorney if you have a trust issue, not trust as in trust, but living trust issue or will. And by working with your financial advisor and that professional, you can sit down and work with all of these people and come up with the plan that works. For many people, they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about something very simple. When can I retire and how much can I have? Well, don't forget monthly income. Now, today, you don't have to pay for that. A lot of people have these income riders, and they think that they have to pay for this, 1 or 2% or more. We had one the other day, 3.5% by the time they got paid all these fees. And the account was actually going backwards. Started with $250,000. It's worth $237,000. The gentleman comes into my office. I said, how long have you had this? And he had it for about 4 years or 3 years, something like that. We look at it. The amount of fees that he had paid we did the math, is somewhere around $12,000 in fees.
Wow.
$12,000 in fees, and he lost $13,000 in the account. Do you realize that doesn't work? And people are busy. But what used to happen when you were your professional in your career, i.e. you were the shoemaker or the doctor or the shopkeeper or the barkeeper, right? You owned these businesses. Your goal someday was to buy the building and then was to sell the business and collect rent from the building. It had nothing to do with you buying stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. That's a recent phenomenon. And then suddenly you became a good worker and you did what you did, and these salesmen come knocking. Hey, hello, hi there. Yeah, I've got this thing. It's called a 401k. It's a mutual fund. You can put money in, and don't worry, just trust us. We'll manage it. We're just going to take a tiny piece, but don't worry, it'll always go up, and don't worry because everybody loses money sometimes. And you go, okay. So now your skill set that was a shopkeeper, right? Now you say, I'm an investor. And where you never decided to be involved before, now you are. Because what used to happen when you were an employee, your company would take care of you until you died. But you're not dying at 68 years old anymore. You're barely retired at that age. So companies are like, oh man, we don't have any more money to pay these people. They're living longer than we thought. So we got a plan. We're going to stop the pension. We're going to put money into these other accounts called a matching. So we'll have a retirement account. We'll match it up. We'll put these dollars in there. When you retire and where you retire, if you did good with it, you win. You can do whatever you. If you didn't, hey, sorry about that. We're done with you. And when that took place, suddenly you had to become good at your job, a good husband or wife, a good parent, and surprise, you had to also become a good investor. Because if not, what ended up happening was you would retire or get to age 60 or 70 and be broke. Whether you didn't take whether you took too much risk or you didn't take enough risk. Somewhere in there is the right line. What is it? Well, I don't know. Everybody's different. And that's scary.
It's really scary because now the onus and the responsibility is back on us as the individual, whereas in the past we were waiting for the government or our employer to tell us when we could retire and how much we would receive based on our efforts of working and receiving income throughout the years. So I don't think anymore the question is, how much should I save for retirement? The question is, how much can I live on in retirement? That's the $1 million question. You used to see these commercials of people walking around, what's your number? And they'd hold $1 million or $2 million and they're walking around and everybody's got a different number, right? Well, that's fantastic. But what they never tell you is the real magic in retirement, I think, is knowing when to retire and how much you can take out of these accounts without ever having the money run out. Because I have seen statistically, people will say that they fear more. The fear of running out of money is more than the fear of dying.
Scary, isn't it?
How incredible is that?
Yeah. We all know people. You can drive up and down any street where you see folks that had, quote, a normal life at one time.
Yeah.
Maybe they had an apartment or they had a house or they had children. And occasionally we'll see these folks and, I think everybody helps out people now and again. And I spoke to one lady I go, don't you have any family? Yeah, I have 2 kids. Well, gosh, why don't you call them? Well, I don't want to bother them. I'm like, my goodness, you live behind a church. You sleep on the street. What do you mean? Now, I'm certain she has some level of substance abuse issue. Fine, that can always be addressed. But why isn't a son or a daughter or a grandson or a daughter picking her up off the street and driving her fanny somewhere? Why isn't somebody out there going, this is not acceptable to have one of our relatives live on the street? Right? I mean, look, you can see this happening regularly.
And added insult to injury, I'm one of those people that maybe I'm kind of weird, but whenever I interact with folks that are living on the streets, I ask them, tell me your story. Could you please tell me how you got here? And I'll tell you that one of the worst cases I've ever heard was a gal, very similar to the one you're talking about, Arif. She used to work for, get this, the Retirement Services Department of an insurance company. I mean, how much worse can that be that you were there, you're in the trench, you know how it works, you worked in a company that helped people retire, and you're on the street and destitute.
You're watching this happen, folks, and it's always somebody else. You've heard the shoemaker's, shoe cobbler's son doesn't have shoes or something. I used to hear a saying my mom would say. Same thing, right? We have clients that are construction workers and they build wonderful, beautiful homes, and you go to their home and their kitchen is still halfway done or something, or
Right.
they're going to get to it one day. They're going to get to the floor and it's just kind of torn up, but eventually they'll fix it. I understand that there's some of that happens, but you have to remember that the rules have changed. I'm going to say sorry. I apologize. I wish it was different. Yep. Oh, gosh, that's a bummer that you were born. You should have been born 10 years earlier or 10 years later. I get it. And still it has changed. And it doesn't matter who says sorry or who you still have to pick. Whoever's in the White House, whoever's in Congress, it doesn't matter. Financial equality always brings people down. Financial freedom gives people a chance. Go around the world. Capitalism has brought, lifted the floor of poverty up to an amazing level. Isn't it amazing? I have been all over the world. I've been blessed to travel. My dad worked for an airlines for a while, so we used to travel then as well. And when we say poor in the United States, it means you have carpet, you have a roof over your head. It is not a tin roof. You have food. It's not maybe filet mignon, but it's food. You have air conditioning and or heater. You have clothes. If not, go across the street or down the way and you can buy a shirt for $2, right? That's poor in America. Okay, fine, I get it.
And a cell phone.
And a cell phone. My gosh, look, drive past the Home Depot / places where people will stand outside, right? Lowe's and Home Depot, and see the folks that are there looking for a job. They're on cell phones.
I saw a line of folks at the food pantry the other day, and there were about 6 or 8 of them had cell phones out. Texting, waiting for their food.
Do you not understand, you guys? That's not poverty.
Yeah.
Some of it is choice. Some. Right? Where are you spending your money? Well, you have a decision to make today. Where are you spending your money? You have to save because the government cannot take care of you. Sorry, there just isn't enough money anymore. The state of California, by all intents and purposes on any spreadsheet, is broke. It is broke. It cannot pay its loan back to the federal government, so that's why it keeps raising taxes on us. It keeps coming up with these silly taxes, and they're taxing this, calling this a fee and this a whatever. There is no money for the pension systems. Right now, they're all upside down. That means, they owe this amount up here, and they have in their accounts this amount. People are living longer. Folks are still spiking their pensions in some areas. The first CalPERS pension ever a few weeks ago to actually reduce benefits. It just happened. 60%, 60 reduction. We have told you about United Airlines when they had to let people reduce their pensions by over 50%. TWA, I can go on. And tons of companies and organizations and states and cities have had to make adjustments. So watch out for yourself. Understand the game you're playing. Traditional retirement accounts, 401ks. This is a new language, I know, but you can do it. And you can do it every day. You can go to hometownstation.com, click on Total Financial Solutions, that's us, or go to tfswealth.com, send us an email. I'm Arif Halaby, and that's Jeff Gerard on AM 1220 KHTS.